This is the post-convention 2022 issue of the BVA Bulletin, Volume 77, Number 3. Joseph D. McNeil, Sr. of Columbus, Georgia, is the National President of the Blinded Veterans Association. Paul Mims of Kansas City, Missouri, is the National Vice President. The National Secretary is Elizabeth Holmes of Midland, Georgia, and Tracy Farrow of Biloxi, Mississippi, is the National Treasurer. Serving as district directors are the following: Wanda Grover of Rockville, Maryland, representing District 1. Brian Harris of Homewood, Illinois, Director of District 2. Jose Rivera Barris of Naguabo, Puerto Rico, the duly elected Director of District 3, and Wade Davis of LaPorte, Texas, representing the veterans of District 4. The immediate past president is Dr. Thomas M. Perry of Pearland, Texas. Additional appointed officers are National Chaplain Dr. Ron Lester of Tucson, Arizona, and National Sergeant-at-Arms Brian O'Connell of Greenville, South Carolina. Blinded Veterans Association auxiliary officers are as follows: President Sandy Krasnodemsky of Allen Park, Michigan, Vice President Robert Murphy of Manhattan, Kansas, Secretary Susan Cantrell of Spokane, Washington, and Treasurer Benjamin Holmes from Midland, Georgia. Laura Cabot Kennedy serves as the auxiliary reporter, and Roxy Williams is the new BVAA chaplain. BVA staff members serving the association's membership nationwide consist of Executive Director Donald D. Overton, Jr., National Service Director, Benefits and Policy, James R. Vale, and Director of Veterans Benefits, Dwayne Driscoll. Working with James and Dwayne is National Service Officer Marlene Davis Lilly. The BVA Director of Member Relations, a new title, is Bridget Jones, and the Director of Development is Meredith Buono de Grossa. Andrea Melmer's new title is Director of Operations. Joe Bogart continues as the Director of Community Relations. The Information Technology Specialist and Webmaster is Jordan Chesley. The association welcomes Timothy Hornick as the new Director of Special Initiatives. Stuart Nelson is the Director of Public Relations, while Kylie Fitzgerald is Director of Communications. The two are, respectively, Editor and Associate Editor of this issue of the Bulletin. BVA's national headquarters is located at 1101 King Street, Suite 300, Alexandria, Virginia, 22314. The official mailing address of the association is now P.O. Box 90770, Washington, D.C. 20090. Each full-time headquarters staff member can be reached by dialing 202-371-8880 or toll-free 1-800-669-7079 and by then following prompts that connect the caller to the correct individual or team. Email communication will be forwarded to the appropriate recipient when sent through BVA's general email address, bva@bva.org. The Bulletin is published quarterly by and for all blinded veterans. There is no charge to receive the print version of the publication, which is available upon request of the national headquarters to any interested individual or organization. Requests for multiple copies will also be honored whenever possible. An audio compact disc version is mailed to BVA members upon specific request. Other formats include a web-based narrated audio version with image descriptions, a PDF replica of the print version, and a descriptive email version transmitted as a Word document. Contents of this issue of the Bulletin are divided into the following section headings: President's Page by Joseph D. McNeil, Sr., Legislative Update by James R. Vale, Executive Director's Message by Donald D. Overton, Jr., In Heart of Nation's Capital, BVA Faithful Make Memories by Stuart Nelson, Training Service Animals and Autonomous Vehicles by John L. Sturda, True Honor by Tracy Farrow, Around BVA, Is Your Heart a Precious Friend, a Casual Friend, or an Enemy by Pascal Bautet, Team BVA Buzz by Joe Bogart, Veteran Service Program Update by James R. Vale, A Development Model for BVA's Future by Meredith Buono de Grossa, Chaplain's Corner by Dr. Ron Lester. Of Note: Veterans Burial Benefits by Ken Asum, Convention Reflections by Warner Murray, Letters to the Editor, In Remembrance, and The Usual Final Thought. The cover of this, the post-convention 2022 issue of the Bulletin, reveals 4 color photographs of various sizes, shapes, and borders. The first of the photos is a direct 3/4 length shot of 3 faintly smiling gentlemen standing side by side against a background containing BVA logos, seals, and the website URL. The 2 men on the outside are wearing BVA black button-down shirts. The man on the inside is dressed in formal Army attire, including medals. All 3 are wearing convention name badges. The second image shows 4 casually dressed individuals standing together in front of 3 different panels of what is undoubtedly the black wall of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. It is a bright, sunny day. Left to right are a man, then a woman, then a man with a black Labrador guide dog, and, lastly, a second woman. The first 3 persons are offering a military salute, while the woman at the far right has her right hand over her heart. The third photo is a group shot that includes 19 total persons, 13 of whom are standing, while 6 are seated in front. The U.S. flag is seen at the back left, while the BVA flag, barely visible, is at the back right. 7 white canes, 4 service caps, and many convention badges are scattered throughout the group. The fourth and final photo is an action image of a man addressing an audience using a small microphone attached to the top of his shirt. He is wearing a sport jacket but no tie. About half of his background is composed of the step and repeat described earlier with the logo, seal, and website URL. The caption states, "With virtual conventions now history, and 2 years later than originally slated, members of the Blinded Veterans Association and their families gathered and rejoiced together in person at the association's 77th National Convention in the shadow of the United States Capitol building. Reports and impressions of the historic late summer event are scattered throughout this issue of the Bulletin. A more detailed description of the cover will be presented later." President's Page by Joseph D. McNeil, Sr. A new Head & Shoulders thumbnail photo of Joe McNeil accompanies his President's Page. Dressed in a tuxedo, which includes a black bow tie, Joe is also wearing his BVA Garrison cap. The background of the photo again contains scattered images of the organization's logo, seal, and website URL. The content of the President's Page begins with the following. The 77th National Convention opened in grand style after it had been 2 years since we had gathered as a BVA family. It was truly great to see old friends and put faces to names and voices I'd been hearing during the past 2 years via Zoom. The success of our 2022 convention was due in large part to a great team effort consisting of staff, volunteers, and our members. I thank all of our delegates, many of whom overcame travel difficulties and performed their duties well. I must also mention a dedicated and attentive Hyatt Regency Hotel staff who went out of their way to assist all of us in countless ways. There was plenty of behind-the-scenes work that made this convention enjoyable for both new and seasoned members. Outstanding meals, an organized layout of vendors in the exhibit hall, and amazing volunteers do not happen by chance or accident. As referenced in more detail by Tracy Farrow later in this issue, we could perhaps have picked up and gone home once we had presented the wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier on Monday afternoon. It was emotionally moving to do this with my fellow blinded veterans and the first ever female Sergeant of the Honor Guard. Another highlight for me was Tuesday's Ambassador Good Morning Coffee and Breakfast, as we recognized individually the men and women who successfully completed the ambassador training. We also heard from our friends at ORCAM, who sponsored the event. As leaders of BVA, we cannot be more pleased with the potential and future of the ambassador program, and the breakfast most certainly reinforced the importance of this remarkable initiative. On Tuesday, a gorgeous summer day in the nation's capital, 2 off-site National Mall tours were also conducted where the World War II, Vietnam veterans, Lincoln, and Korean War memorials are situated. Although many of us had stood at these memorials previously, the experience took on new meaning on this occasion, especially with the number of Vietnam War-era veterans who were with us. Other highlights included multiple Lunch and Learn events sponsored by DOT Incorporation and Oracle Cerner, the first ever BVA Blackout Bingo competition in the exhibit hall with 2 $1,400 prizes that covered convention expenses, the traditional auxiliary silent auction, and a bowling and bocce activity with dinner that occurred in the heart of Georgetown. If these events were not enough to instruct and inspire, there was an additional treat in store for us at the annual Father Carroll Memorial Luncheon on Thursday, just past noon. The treat was more than the great food, as our beloved Lonnie Bedwell knocked it out of the park with his recounting of a journey described with words, but which had meaning beyond words. If you couldn't be with us this year, get with your delegates and get briefed. Next year, you can be part of the fun in St. Louis, Missouri. The 77th was great, and the 78th promises to be even better. Legislative Update by James R. Vail. A thumbnail shoulder-length photo of Jim Vail in a serious pose accompanies his legislative update. He is wearing the same button-down shirt worn by other BVA headquarters staff members in the small photos accompanying their written columns. The background of the photo consists of a wooden pillar. In a color photo, the shirts would be blue with the red and blue BVA logo and name appearing just below the left shoulder. In the black and white print version of the bulletin, the shirts become a dark gray, but the logo is still clearly visible. There is no photo caption. The text of Jim's update begins. Veterans for generations have been denied VA compensation for wounds and injuries caused by in-service toxic exposures from burn pits, herbicides, Agent Orange, biochemical agents, and even radiation. After a protracted and controversial legislative fight in Congress, H.R. 3767, known as the Sergeant First Class, SFC, Heath Robinson honoring our promises to address comprehensive toxics, PACT Act, was signed into law by President Biden on August 10, 2022. This landmark legislation is considered one of the largest expansions of health care and benefits for veterans in U.S. history and is projected to cost $300 billion over 10 years to help as many as 5 million veterans harmed by toxic exposures during military service. The PACT Act expands and extends eligibility for VA health care for veterans with toxic exposures and veterans of the Vietnam, Gulf War, and post-9/11 eras. It adds more than 20 new presumptive conditions for burn pits and other toxic exposures. It also adds 5 more presumptive exposure locations for Agent Orange and radiation exposure. The requirements of the PACT Act also include mandatory toxic exposure screening to every veteran enrolled in VA healthcare and provides resources to help VA improve research, staff education, and treatment related to toxic exposures. For more information, please visit https://www.va.gov/resources/the-pact-and-your-va-benefits/. If you were exposed to toxins in service, you are highly encouraged to apply or reapply if you were previously denied as soon as possible. Survivors of veterans exposed in service to toxins may also benefit from this expansive legislation. For claims assistance, contact BVA's Veterans Service Program at vsp@bva.org or https://bva.org/programs/veteran-service/. BVA continues to advocate for the AUTO, Auto for Veterans Act S444, which now has 15 co-sponsors. Its corresponding bipartisan bill in the House, H.R. 1361, has 68 co-sponsors. If passed into law, this legislation will authorize VA to pay eligible service-connected veterans or service members an additional VA auto grant after 10 years from issuance of the prior auto grant. There is still a shot for this legislation to advance during the lame duck congressional session that occurs after the November midterm elections. Lastly, VA is appealing Bodette v. McDonough, which is the U.S. Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims, CAVC, decision that allows veterans to appeal VA's Program of Comprehensive Assistance for Family Caregivers, PCAFC, eligibility decisions to the Board of Veterans' Appeals. On July 1, the Department of Justice, on behalf of VA, filed their opening brief to appeal the Bodette decision. VA believes the court's reasoning in Bodette poses a potential threat to VA operations given the potential to impact the board with appeals of clinical decisions. During this appeal, veterans will still be able to appeal their caregiver eligibility decisions to the board. BVA will continue to monitor this appeal given its potential significant impact to other veterans' appellate options under the VA Caregiver Program. Executive Director's Message by Donald D. Overton, Jr. A photo accompanies this issue's Executive Director's Message, the customary thumbnail image rendition of Don Overton with a faint smile. The photo is similar to the one described in other sections, with the same BVA shirt and the same image background. There is no caption with the thumbnail image. Don's message begins with the following: Reuniting and looking ahead. I extend my sincere and warm appreciation to our BVA members who attended the 77th National Convention and made the event both fun and, at the same time, productive and successful. It was great for us to reunite in some cases, and in many others, to meet for the first time, all in person, face-to-face, and without any electronic device. The enjoyment we experienced was an explicitly stated goal early on in our convention committee meetings beginning last year. I think we succeeded with that, at least to some extent, with our activities outside the Hyatt Regency. In the end, however, it was our member attendees who made those activities enjoyable. On the more productive side, we acknowledge our generous sponsors and exhibitors, many of whom brought several of their company representatives to the convention, offered giveaways and prizes, and who truly engaged with our membership and the VA professionals attending its Blind Rehabilitation Service conference adjacent to our meetings. Thanks go also to you who supported the exhibit hall by participating in Blackout Bingo or simply visiting as many booths as possible. If our direction at BVA National Headquarters emerging from the global pandemic has not yet become clear to our members, we hope that it soon will be. At convention, we engaged with one another in enjoyable social and recreational activities. We also engaged with technology and health-related resources that improve our quality of life. For those who remained an extra day, we engaged in an adaptive sports activity on the Potomac River. Those opportunities to engage are what we hope to expand, and to a loftier level than ever before, through Team BVA, one vision, one team, one fight. That, in a nutshell, is our desired direction. Our newly launched and so far successful Ambassador, VetTech, and Adaptive Sports programs have at least pointed us in the right direction and allowed us to see BVA's potential when we proactively engage ourselves in positive causes, hopefully with one another whenever possible. With the approach of Veterans Day, let us think of ways we might engage a little more and a little more effectively to improve ourselves, our families, and our fellow veterans, most especially our fellow BVA members within our respective regional groups. If your local area or VA facility is reinitiating Veterans Day events post-pandemic, make plans to attend and participate if possible. It remains one of the best ways to honor other veterans and their service while engaging with the community and sharing your own story. If nothing else, however, express your thanks sincerely and simply to a fellow veteran. Doing so may not be the most creative way to spend Veterans Day, but it could well be the most effective. Accordingly, I personally thank each of you for your service to this great nation and for your dedication to the cause of our beloved BVA, now 77 years strong. In Heart of Nation's Capital, BVA Faithful Make Memories by Stuart Nelson. 7 photos accompany the following convention highlights. The first of 7 reveals 2 smiling gentlemen seated at the BVA convention volunteer table, labeled as such with a sign in front. The table is filled with tourist information about Washington, D.C., and BVA promotional information, including copies of the Bulletin. The man seated on the right is wearing a Veterans of Foreign Wars Life member shirt and a garrison cap. The caption reads, At left, Rex Hendricks of American Legion Post 24 and Jerry Kruger, VFW Post 609, spent the better part of the week helping convention attendees get to meetings, activities, and meals. VFW Post 609 Captain Marty Menez was responsible for enlisting the assistance of the Northwestern High School cadets when BVA members were both arriving and departing the Hyatt Regency. The second photo shows a younger lady and an older gentleman, both with faint smiles, standing under a sunlit sky in front of a dark panel covered almost entirely with light-colored name etchings that appear to be full names. Both the man and the lady are wearing convention name badges. The caption states, On a sultry, sun-drenched August 23 afternoon, Southeast Texas Chapter President and Vietnam veteran John Lee likely experienced mixed emotions at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Wall, accompanied by daughter Kelly Motz. The third photo was also snapped during a convention site visit. 3 blinded veterans with white canes and hats are seen standing on a platform containing a chest-high ledge immediately behind them. In the more distant background is a large fountain and a series of pillars that form a semicircle behind the fountain. 2 of the 3 men are wearing their convention name badges, and one of the 3 is wearing a protective face mask. Faint smiles are on the faces of the 2 without a mask. The caption says, "Left to right during visit to World War II Memorial, visible in the background, South Texas Regional Group veterans Wally Guerra, Martin Clark, and Gerard Valdez." The fourth of 7 photos was produced at the Genentech booth in the convention exhibit hall. 8 persons, 2 women, 6 men, are in the picture. 3 of the men are holding white canes as they pose for the photo. The blue background's white lettering says, "Proud to support those we serve." The photo caption states, "Left to right, Genentech's Darren Lance, Candace Sanders, and Paul Scala, with BVA's Meredith Buono de Grossa, Don Overton, and Joe Bogart. At far right, Genentech's Gary Bissett and BVA National Sergeant-at-Arms Brian O'Connell." Photo number 5 reveals 2 persons, a lady at left and a man at right, seated in chairs that lean against a wall. The lady's smile is a rather faint one, but the smile from the man is especially wide. The man stands out for 2 reasons. First, he is wearing a blue Team River Runner t-shirt with white lettering that says, "Team River Runner, helping our wounded veterans." Second, he displays the bottom portion of his prosthetic leg. The descriptive caption goes like this: "Volunteer Karen Hendricks, American Legion Post 24 of Old Town Alexandria, Virginia, visits with Director of District 2, Brian Harris." The 6th photo shows Joe McNeil presenting Colin Williamson, President of Blind Veterans, UK, with a large, round Jack Daniels wooden barrel head. Engraved on the piece is Jack Daniels No. 7 brand, made in Lynchburg, Tennessee, at The Ginger Pig. A gold plate at the bottom contains additional information that is too small to see in the photo. The caption reinforces the details as follows. With Don Overton looking on from the podium, Joe McNeil recognizes Blind Veterans UK President Colin Williams with BVA's Lifetime Achievement Award in the form of a whiskey barrelhead. Colin has fostered the BVA-BV-UK friendship from across the pond for more than 10 years. A similar photo to the preceding one depicts the presentation of the Maz Award, this one a plaque inside a container resembling a jewelry box. The caption states, "Joe McNeil presents a surprised Tom Zamperi with Major General Melvin J. Maz Award, BVA's most prestigious honor awarded annually." Highlights of the convention are now described as follows. The BVA 77th National Convention was most assuredly 5 unforgettable days for the more than 120 blinded veterans, another 100 or so family members and caregivers, the approximately 125 exhibitors and sponsors in 41 booths of the exhibit hall, speakers and presenters, and a couple of dozen volunteers when they were needed most. Add to those numbers the nearly 200 participants in the VA BRS conference occurring simultaneously, and the result was a more vibrant exhibit hall than perhaps ever before, and a Hyatt Regency Washington on Capitol Hill buzzing with activity throughout August 22 through 26. "I don't need to pretend to be busy," said longtime convention volunteer coordinator Margarine Beeman. "There is never a lack of needs and places to be all at once, but the wonderful thing was the quality of our volunteers this year." Margarine, referred to by many BVA members as the Energizer Bunny, began serving BVA conventions in 1992. She has attended each one since then, missing out only on the 2 recently postponed gatherings because of the COVID-19 worldwide pandemic. Convention events and impressions have been reported and expressed via photo and personal accounts throughout this issue of the Bulletin. Future issues will contain additional highlights. For now, a few brief summary items will suffice. A special shout-out and apology goes to the Illinois Regional Group, whose ad for the convention program booklet was inadvertently left out. This ad is included in the electronic version of this publication. BVA extends criteria for organization membership. Voting in convention assembled at the 77th National Convention in Washington, D.C. on August 26, the organization's membership elected to align its membership policies with the VA's Veterans Health Administration, VHA, Blind Rehabilitation Service, BRS, Directive 1174, Blind and Visual Impairment Rehabilitation Continuum of Care. The alignment includes any future updates or revisions to Directive 1174. There were no dissenting votes in the adoption of a newly constructed document containing the association's bylaws in their entirety, which includes the criteria for membership in Article 3, Section 1. Votes were cast through delegates of regional groups in good standing representing blinded veterans across the United States. Individual BVA members who registered for the convention and attended the closing business session cast single votes on their own behalf. Any person having honorably served or currently serving in the Armed Forces of the United States, qualifying for VA BRS, is now eligible for membership in BVA. Eligibility verification may be provided by an optometrist, ophthalmologist, visual impairment services team, VIST, coordinator, or blind rehabilitation outpatient specialist, BROS. Membership criteria with respect to vision was previously defined as legal blindness with central visual acuity of 20/200 or less in the better eye with the use of a corrective lens and or a limitation in the field of vision with the widest diameter being no greater than 20 degrees. Qualifying conditions now include substantial visual impairment and or low vision defined as significant loss of vision uncorrectable by conventional means such as eyeglasses, contact lenses, medicines, or surgery negatively impacting the safety of the individual or restricting/impairing one or more activities of daily living. The National Board of Directors will review and adjudicate the membership status of borderline cases or those in which sight improves to such an extent that they no longer qualify. VA estimates the number of legally blind veterans at approximately 120,000. The number of low-vision veterans is approximately 1.1 million, thus expanding several-fold the potential BVA membership base. Award recipients honored, surprised. Longtime convention attendees silently wondered where the event programs were as they filed into the hotel's Regency A ballroom for the awards banquet convention finale. The programs traditionally featured biographies of the three major award winners, Maas, Diener, and Schnarr. Some reportedly believed the awards had been foregone or forgotten. Breaking from tradition, the awards were actually a surprise to each recipient. This year's Maas Award recipient was Dr. Tom Zamperi, BVA's immediate past national president and longtime director of government relations. Tom's professional career also included service on active duty as an Army medic and in the Army National Guard for 21 years. He spent 13 years as a military aeromedical flight surgeon after graduating from Hanuman Medical University's Physician Assistant Program. Michonne Harrison received the Diener Award for Outstanding Service to her regional group, the Mid-Atlantic Regional Group, covering the District of Columbia, Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, and Delaware. Marlene Davis Lilly of the Arkansas Regional Group was the recipient of the David L. Schnarr Award for Exceptional Voluntary Service to Blinded Veterans. Marlene now matches her dedication as a volunteer with her work as a BVA staff member for the Veterans Service Program. The gold gavel was passed to the Louisiana-Mississippi Regional Group, which added the largest number of new members for fiscal year 2022. In second place receiving the silver gavel was the Georgia Regional Group. Other recognitions at the banquet were the Trailblazer Award to Lonnie Bedwell, the Lifetime Service Award to Colin Williamson, and the Thomas H. Miller Guiding Legislator Awards to Senate Committee on Aging Chairman Bob Casey, D., Pennsylvania, and House Committee on Veterans Affairs Ranking Member Mike Bost, Republican, Illinois, 12. At the Thursday Father Carroll Luncheon, BVA awarded the Hunter Holmes McGuire VA Medical Centers, Richmond, Virginia, Visual Impairment Services Outpatient Rehabilitation, VISOR, program with a Certificate of Appreciation. Present to receive the award was optometrist Dr. Michael Peterson, case manager Sherry Geiger, and computer access and technology specialist Kim O'Connell. Lonnie Bedwell wows Father Carroll audience. Laughter, tears, and a prolonged standing ovation occurred as Lonnie Bedwell brought the house down with his rousing Father Carroll luncheon address on Thursday afternoon. The 2015 National Geographic Adventurer of the Year, motivational speaker, television personality, author, and member of the Indiana Regional Group related the motivation he received from his 5-year-old daughter, nicknamed Bug, as she guided him in the mowing of his lawn on a rider mower just weeks after he could no longer see. She truly believed that he could do it at a time when he felt totally helpless. Maybe none of my future adventures would have happened without Bug, and it took me 14 years to tell this story to anyone else because I just couldn't get through it without breaking down, he said. Lonnie related this and other experiences to the luncheon attendees that may have been struggling with self-confidence and doubt. My life is dedicated to others with physical disabilities such as mine to help them understand what is possible, he said. When you're in this situation, you have two choices in life: live in fear and pity, or simply live. Start preparing now for Gateway to the West. Mark your calendars, both electronic and hard copies, as reminders for the BVA 78th National Convention at the Marriott St. Louis Grand Hotel in St. Louis, Missouri, August 14 through 18, 2023. Ideally located in the heart of downtown St. Louis, the Marriott Grand is near Union Train Station, Ballpark Village, the Gateway Arch, the National Blues Museum, Busch Stadium, and dozens of popular restaurants. Hotel amenities include a 24-hour fitness center, an American restaurant and bar, a grab-and-go market, and an on-site coffee shop. The Heartland Regional Group will host the Monday through Friday 5-day gathering. Training Service Animals and Autonomous Vehicles by John Elsterda. A shoulder-length photo of John Elsterda accompanies his short feature. The photo is slightly larger than the thumbnail photos used for staff writers. John, attired in a gray sport jacket and colored shirt with no tie, displays a serious look in the picture. The background is difficult to decipher, but loose wire and car parts appear to be scattered behind him. There is no photo caption. The text of the article begins as follows. What does developing autonomous driving technology have in common with training service dogs? More than you might think. Fundamentally, guide dogs and the Waymo driver, what we call our autonomous driving technology, share a similar mission: to make it safe and easy for people to get where they're going. During a recent gathering of veterans at Waymo, an employee resource group, we visited Warrior Canine Connection, WCC, and their service dogs in training, including my canine charge in training, Nathan, to clean up their training center. The dogs gave us their undivided attention and love throughout the day. This powerful capacity that ultimately allows humans to train these incredible animals always touches me, and this time it got me to thinking this. There are many similarities between training a service dog and autonomous driving technology. Rewarding behavior. When teaching a service dog a new skill, we reward them with attention and treats when they respond correctly to requests and gently ignore them for poor behavior. They quickly learn to optimize their behavior for incentives. Training an autonomous system to complete a task follows a similar model. While we can't give technology tasty treats and head scratches, we can define a mathematical reward function that assigns positive points to desired behaviors, like staying in a lane, and penalties for behaviors that could be improved, like stopping for too long on a crosswalk. The algorithms optimize, similar to how a dog would, by solving this math problem repeatedly to determine how to get the most rewards and avoid the most penalties. Encoding a language. Both dogs and autonomous systems need to understand complex scenarios without fully understanding human language. Instead, dogs like Nathan can recognize short commands and emotions. We teach dogs complex tasks slowly and iteratively, adding one component at a time until they learn the whole sequence. The Waymo driver works in a similar way. It could be overwhelming to code each scenario our autonomous driver has to account for in the real world. Instead, we use algorithms that simplify the world into actions such as stopping at a red light or recognizing when it's safe to proceed. Simply put, it pays for service dogs and autonomous driving systems to make the right decisions. It's remarkable how certain aspects of learning theory are similar across species and even the development of smart driving technology. With that said, an autonomous driver system is never going to be as good at snuggling as your dog. Learn more about Waymo at waymo.com, at waymo.com. John Elsterda is a systems engineer at Waymo and a Ph.D. candidate at Stanford University. He is also a U.S. Navy reservist and a Warrior Canine Connection volunteer. True Honor by Tracy Farrow. The feature entitled True Honor comes accompanied by a side view photo. The focus of the photo is two gentlemen, Joe McNeil and Paul Mims, who have presented a large, colorful wreath to a guard. The man in the forefront is holding a white cane, while the man to his left is accompanied by a black Labrador guide dog. To the left of the men, the wreath is now on a stand for viewing by a gallery of spectators standing 30 to 35 feet behind them. Immediately behind the two men are three additional participants, all of whom are saluting in the photo. One of them is a female guard standing only one step or so ahead of the remaining two. The photo's caption provides some additional details as follows. With Tomb Sentinel Sergeant of the Guard assuring proper decorum, Joe McNeil, Paul Mims, and guide dog Shadow advance to present wreath at tomb of the unknown soldier. Behind them, some 6 steps, Elizabeth Holmes, Tracy Farrow, and Tomb Sentinel offer a brief salute during the presentation. Guards later remarked to the BVA group that they were unaware of any other occasion on which a guide dog participated in a wreath laying at the tomb. Tracy's account of a recent memorable experience begins with the following. Many years ago, in a land far, far away, I did as many of us have done throughout the years. I reflected at a very young age about my future and wondered just what I should do with my life. All sorts of ideas went through my head, and guidance, opinions, and offers abounded. Like many of us, I chose the military. I asked the Navy and Air Force about their offers, decided that I could only swim about 50 feet, and, as I'm Italian, feared that sharks might enjoy Italian food a little too much for my liking. Off I went to the wild blue yonder. I was a scared kid with a full head of thick hair, characteristic of that time. A photo I sent to the Bulletin editors was a bit too pixelated and could not be reproduced here, but I know of one thing that happened only a little before the photo was taken. I took an oath. We all did. As I did so, I still remember the feeling of awe I had. My chest pumped out a little, my breath became a little ragged, and for the first time I realized that there was more to this than what I had expected. I took that oath 5 more times, and each time felt even more honored to be allowed to take on the responsibility that so many expect of our military. Until the very end, I never considered that I would become, for the rest of my life, a member of a very small and exclusive club, a club of American veterans. That honor is something that nobody can take from any of us. We not only laced up the boots, but wore them in service to our great nation to be recognized as such. So, I have been honored to represent and protect our country, retire as a senior non-commissioned officer, get elected as a BVA regional group officer, and just last year be sworn in as a BVA national officer. Yeah, I do walk around with my chest pumped out, especially when I'm offered thanks by those who cannot join our little club. Then something came about that I never imagined. If I'd been told in advance that it could happen, my only response would have been, nope, that'll never happen, but it would be awesome if it did. The night before the convention officially began, the phone rang and President Joe McNeil was on the other end. He asked what I would be doing in the morning, and all I could think was that I would do whatever he needed. Then he asked, "Would you like to place a wreath on the tomb of the unknown soldier?" I will admit that right there in my hotel room, with my wife sitting nearby, I came to attention. My chest pumped out a little, my breathing slowed a bit, and again the feeling of great honor washed over me as I responded with something to the effect of, "Oh, hell yes." I would have gone through liposuction to fit in a uniform to be able to do that. Off we went, Joe, Vice President Paul Mims, Secretary Elizabeth Holmes, and yours truly. We were also accompanied by Shadow, the first ever working dog, to present a wreath. As another special honor, we were led by the first female Sergeant of the Guard, Sergeant First Class Chelsea Porterfield. Paul Mims told me afterward, quote, "If I die tomorrow, it will be knowing that I lived my life completely," unquote. I couldn't agree more. It is unfortunate that there are many who do not know of the tomb or what it stands for, but as veterans, I'm not sure you could find one who would not jump at the chance to be so honored. As a side note, many watched as Shadow started doing a little dance up there. Not sure if Paul noticed it, but standing directly behind him, I did. One of my greatest fears was forming in my mind, as there was no way I could let a dog poop at the tomb, and the only thing I had to catch it was with my hands. The reason you didn't see that on the news is that, thankfully, he was only dancing because his feet were a little warm. If you get to the D.C. area, make sure you check in with BVA National Headquarters, as this was an unscheduled event for us. It might be possible for you to represent us performing such honorable duty, and I can only guarantee that you too will pump out your chest a little, have a short breath or two, and walk with a little spring in your step. To the 3rd Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard, we offer a special thanks for your duty and the honorable service you provide to America's brave unknown soldiers. Around BVA, Louisiana, Mississippi supports conference to prevent veteran suicide by Gary Schollerman and Galen Bulletin. The Louisiana, Mississippi Regional Group has been working with the Louisiana Department of Veterans Affairs, LDVA, for the last year. LDVA is the first contact for many Louisiana veterans and refers veterans to the nearest VA medical center or Veteran Service Organization as needed. LDVA has been inviting us to many of its functions and even sent a representative to the recent BVA National Convention. LDVA also joined the regional group for its World War II Museum Tour and the Alexandria VA Medical Center's October 14 celebration and expo on Blind Americans Equality Day, or White Cane Day. The regional group plans on nurturing this relationship and hopes to secure additional support for BVA. On September 9, the Louisiana Department of Veterans Affairs held its annual Suicide Prevention Conference, and the BVA Louisiana-Mississippi Regional Group was invited to attend. We asked Galen "Gatorbug" Bulletin to attend and represent the regional group, which he did very well. Gatorbug was able to make a few comments on blindness at the conference. We all have become aware of the prevalence of suicide among veterans. We also know that the figures are high among the blind, especially those newly blinded or recently experiencing loss of sight. Gatorbug has a new recording of the conference for anyone desiring information beyond his summary as follows. Today, people think it's an option to commit suicide if the mood fits. People are glad to turn a blind eye if it isn't them. The fact is that this topic should bother all of us. People from all walks of life are thinking that they can't go on and that nobody cares. They think suicide is the only way out. They're wrong. There is a video on YouTube of someone who jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge and lived. He said that the instant he let go of the rail, he knew he really hadn't wanted to do it, but it was too late. Many people who consider suicide don't want to kill themselves, but they don't know it until it's too late. They also think it won't hurt anyone but them. They are also wrong about that. Look at the lives that are ruined because of it. Fortunately, there are many getting involved now in letting such people know how much they are valued. The 5th Annual Suicide Prevention Summit was held in Baton Rouge at the American Legion, Nicholson Post 38. It was organized by Larry Williams of the Louisiana Department of Veterans Affairs and sponsored by the Tulane University Center for Brain Health, which provided lunch for all attendees. River Road Coffee donated fresh coffee throughout the day. The summit started off great and ended in similar fashion. It was well thought out, perfectly executed, and supported by several participating vendors. I was overwhelmed to find out how many groups are out there offering help to our veterans who think they can't go on. Special thanks to Tony Bacalla, a member of the Louisiana House of Representatives for District 59 in Ascension Parish, who came to learn what he could about suicide prevention. Several vendors even offered training in what to ask, how to listen, and even what signs to look for. Much of this training is not only for veterans, but for first responders and common people, meaning people from all walks of life. In many cases, we would not believe that particular people we know are contemplating suicide. If you yourself are one who has these thoughts, or would like to get involved in helping those who do, I would tell you this: you can make a difference. And thanks to summits like this, you can find out how. If you would like to get a copy of the summit, please contact me, Galen Bulletin of the Louisiana-Mississippi Regional Group, at gatorbug51@gmail.com. Suicide is a serious problem. Will you be part of the solution? BVA offers input for National Story. Executive Director Don Overton contributed to a USA Today article published October 19 and entitled "Blind to Problems. VA's New Medical Record System is Shutting Out Visually Impaired Patients." The article, written by Darius Tahir of Kaiser Health News, details the potential difficulties that more than 1 million veterans may encounter as they attempt to use VA's new digital health record system developed by Oracle Cerner. Two of the more prevalent issues are that screens do not allow users to zoom in on the text and that screen reader software translating text to speech isn't compatible. None of the systems are accessible to these patients, Don is quoted as saying, as patients often struggle even to log into websites or enter basic information needed to check in for hospital visits. We find that our community stops trying, checks out, and disengages, the end result being dependence on other individuals and giving up the independence we're always seeking. Because of the problems, the developing VA medical record system has been delayed until June 2023. Regional groups recognize, share vital role of white cane safety. A photo accompanies this around BVA entry. The photo's major focus is a display table containing information about BVA, a Braille flag, and a book written by Ken Asom entitled See What I See. The table is draped with a cloth designed so that the BVA logo and emblem are seen at the front. Immediately behind the table, 4 adults are seen standing. To their left is an easel with a framed poster containing additional information about BVA. The caption reads, left to right behind BVA white cane display in West Los Angeles, Bros, Beatrice Sanchez Fields, Southern California Regional Group First Vice President Gary Simpson, President Ken Asom, and Supervisory Blind Rehabilitation Specialist Ted Zadorian. The brief report begins. Special receptions, programs, and walks commemorating White Cane Awareness Day, now known also as Blind Americans Equality Day, have involved several BVA regional groups in different parts of the country. The activities typically occur at VA medical facilities, state and local government agencies, community centers, shopping centers, schools, and other organizations of and for the blind. The official date of October 15, this year falling on a Saturday, moved some of the commemorative events to later in the month. Although complete accounts of all the activities are still not in just yet, the Captain Buddy Spivey Razorback and Southern California regional groups have both reported successful participation. In Arkansas, the State Division of Services for the Blind hosts a program for White Cane Awareness Day. The program consists of various speakers addressing the topic of the white cane. The Central Arkansas Veterans Health Care Services, CAVHS, is usually asked to furnish a veteran to speak. CAVHS, in turn, asked the regional group to provide a speaker. The request was accepted, and Treasurer James Lee represented the regional group with a 20-minute informal delivery of What the Cane Means to Me, a Veteran, that was both seen live and via Zoom. In the main lobby of the West Los Angeles VA Medical Center, the Southern California Regional Group teamed up with Blind Rehabilitation Outpatient Specialist Beatrice Sanchez and Supervisory Blind Rehabilitation Specialist Ted Zadorian at 2 display tables. The purpose was simply to increase awareness of the importance of the white cane. The target groups were the VA medical staff and veterans visiting the medical center, most of whom were not familiar with the VIST program or BVA. The VIST staff screened several veterans for potential eligibility for the program. The BVA team met a potential new member and is now following up on the lead. Hornick joins BVA staff, launches VetTech. A photo of a broadly smiling gentleman with a black guide dog has been placed with this Around BVA entry. A tan-colored wall is visible in the background. The man is wearing a brown BVA t-shirt and blue jeans. He is seen kneeling on his right knee, while his left foot is firmly planted on the floor. The head of the dog is resting on the man's left thigh. The photo caption states, Tim Hornick and his guide dog, Barney, in BVA makeshift office at 77th National Convention. Additional details related to the photo are as follows. BVA's long-awaited VetTech program, an idea in the mix of desired initiatives for some time, lifted off on October 5 with a presentation by ORCAM's Michelle Mendez, National Director of Sales for the United States. The impetus behind the effort, which consists of a weekly presentation and podcast series that will frequently feature guests, is newly appointed Director of Special Initiatives, Timothy Hornick. Tim is a former BVA Director of District 2 and most recently a staff member of the Western Blind Rehabilitation Center in Palo Alto, California. He officially joined BVA on August 22. Supplementing the VetTech Wednesday presentations are twice-monthly VetTech talk sessions held on Thursdays at the same 2 p.m. Eastern Time start. The link to enter the sessions is the same as for the Wednesday meetings. In contrast to the more formal Wednesday presentations, VetTech Talk is community-driven, ensuring that content is focused on participants' questions and goals. The VetTech team will gather participants, suggestions, and thoughts in shaping the future of the series. For more information, contact Tim Hornick at thornik@bva.org or visit https://bva.org and link to information on VetTech. Wade Davis named interim director. A name familiar to many in BVA circles now appears among those of the BVA Board of Directors. Wade Davis, a resident of LaPorte, Texas, and a recent president of the Greater Houston Regional Group, has been appointed interim director of District 4 in the position recently vacated by Kevin Jackson. He will serve in the post until the next District 4 election. Wade is a U.S. Army veteran of the Vietnam era. He served in the Army Security Agency with a top-secret security clearance and was honorably discharged on December 28, 1971, as a Sergeant E5. Following his discharge from the Army, Wade enrolled in Texas Bible College with a major in theology. While at the college, he met his wife, Brenda. They have 2 children and 5 grandchildren. In 1995, Wade began to lose his sight and was referred to the Texas Commission for the Blind. With the Commission's help, he was able to work an additional 13 years. In 2008, his sight loss had reached a point at which he could no longer perform his work duties. Wade joined BVA in 2009 as a member of the Greater Houston Regional Group. In 2010, he attended the VA Southwestern BRC in Tucson, his first experience at a BRC. In 2012, he became the treasurer of the Greater Houston Regional Group. He was elected president of the group in January 2018 and served until January 2022. Until 2012, Wade became a volunteer BVA Veteran Service Officer at the Houston VA Medical Center. 1 year later, he accepted a paid position to do the same work and continued to be stationed in Houston. In 2015, organizational changes with BVA's Field Service Program offered both him and Brenda the opportunity to work at BVA National Headquarters as Veteran Service Officers, Wade in the BVA office in Alexandria, and Brenda at the VA Appeals Management Center in Washington, D.C. In 2016, Wade took on additional responsibilities as the Veterans Care Review Coordinator, doing site inspections of VA's BRCs and Visor clinics. He retired from BVA employment in January 2022. With the goal of influencing changes in Texas law, Wade has worked with the Texas Governor's Committee on People with Disabilities in clarifying the definitions of service animals and emotional support animals and how they differ from one another. He has also worked with a work-study group to improve guide dog handlers' experiences with Uber. Wade looks forward to serving on the BVA National Board of Directors and working with the regional groups of District 4. Mims Murphy present Braille flags in Texas. 2 photos accompany this blurb. The first reveals a casually dressed blinded veteran with a guide dog seated under a canvas tent outdoors. A second gentleman in a blue-colored suit and tie is seen standing and speaking with him. Although the chairs near him are vacant, several people are seen in the background talking with one another or setting up equipment. Another tent protecting additional chairs from possible rain is visible in the background. The caption reads, Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs Ranking Member Jerry Moran recognized Paul Mims and took the time to converse with him at Kansas City, Kansas ribbon-cutting event. Also pictured Guide Dog Shadow. The second photo reveals 2 ladies in front of the outdoor sign of a VA community-based outpatient clinic. Based on some evident squinting and hair that seems to be slightly out of place, the autumn day appears to be both sunny and at least slightly windy. The lady on the left is holding a white cane, and the lady on the right is holding up a Braille flag. Both are wearing scarves, one of which is designed much like a U.S. flag. The caption reads, Jeannie Murphy, left, and Sandra Wood, chaplain of the Veterans of Foreign Wars Auxiliary Post 1786, Manhattan, Kansas, unveil Braille flag donated by BVA's Heartland Regional Group. The blurb begins. National Vice President Paul Mims presented a bronze Braille U.S. flag at the opening of a new VA community-based outpatient clinic in Kansas City, Kansas on July 8. Paul resides in the Kansas City area, but a short drive from the new clinic, which will offer primary care, labs, pharmacies, and both telehealth and behavioral health services. Present at the ribbon-cutting event was Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs Ranking Member Jerry Moran, R., Kansas, who recognized as part of the ceremony both the significance of the Braille flag as well as Paul Mims' service to veterans nationally and within the Heartland Regional Group. I appreciate all Mr. Mims does for veterans in Kansas and across our country, and I look forward to displaying a replica of the bronze Braille flag in my office, Senator Moran said. The flag presentation was part of the American Braille Flag Project, ABFP, an initiative of Georgia Regional Group member Walt Peters, who served 3 tours in Vietnam. The mission of the project, now assisted also by Paul Kaminsky, Florida Regional Group and formerly BVA's Director of District 5, is to assure that a bronze copy of the Braille flag be placed in every VA facility throughout the country and in classrooms where blind and low-vision students can experience it by a touch of their fingers. ABFP also made a stop in eastern Kansas at the Lieutenant General Richard Seitz VA Community-Based Outpatient Clinic of Junction City, Kansas, on October 14. Heartland Regional Group President Jeannie Murphy and her husband Robert, Vice President of the National BVA Auxiliary, participated in the ceremony with blinded veterans Steve Smith and Bob Morin. The selection of October 14 as the date for the Junction City donation and ceremony was fitting with Blind Americans Equality Day falling on Saturday, October 15. The American Braille Flag Project's motto is Raising the Flag for All to See. For more information about the project, visit https://afpb.us. BVA regional groups across the country have supported the ideas and vision behind the project, donating Braille flags in various VA facilities and educational institutions. The flags are the brainchild of Randolph Cabral and produced by the nonprofit Kansas Braille Transcription Institute, which he founded in 1995. Flag presented at museum grand opening. Despite its relative simplicity, an accompanying photo adds to the significance of this Around BVA entry. Standing side by side, left to right, are 2 gentlemen and then a lady at the far right in front of a background that is half blue and half a light brown color. The first man is wearing a BVA cap and holding a white cane in his right hand and displaying a Braille flag in the other. The man in the middle, who has a name badge around his neck, is also holding up his end of the flag. The lady is holding up the customary donated plaque. The descriptive caption says, Left to right at National Vietnam War Museum, Gary Scholerman, Jim Messenger, and Morel Scholerman. This entry begins. Gary Scholerman, Louisiana-Mississippi Regional Group, was one of more than 300 present as the National Vietnam War Museum held its grand opening on June 25. The purpose, once again, presentation of one or more bronze Braille U.S. flag and identifying plaque. Because of 104-degree heat at the outdoor ceremony and delays due to problems with the audio, everything was halted early, and I was not able to speak before the large group as previously scheduled, Gary said. The trip from Breaux Bridge, Louisiana, to the entrance of Fort Walters in Weatherford, Texas, was not in vain, however, as Gary later presented the flag, plaque, and several dozen BVA brochures to Dr. Jim Messenger, treasurer of the National Vietnam War Museum Project and now treasurer of the new museum itself. Plans for the museum were formalized in 1998 to develop a national venue that would create an atmosphere of learning about the Vietnam War era and engage people of all ages, nationalities, and political points of view. Dr. Messenger apologized for not allowing me to present the flag and speak before the crowd, but he was sensitive to those wilting in the heat, Gary said. He told me he would find a place of honor in their art gallery to display the flag and plaque. Gary compared the opening of the museum to the inauguration in 2000 of the World War II Museum in New Orleans. At first, everything in New Orleans was in a small warehouse with a relatively small number of artifacts, but it is now considered one of the finest museums in the world. He also said one of the displays of particular interest to BVA members could well be a monument to the 5,000 military dogs that were left in Vietnam when their handlers were sent home in 1973. Michonne Harrison featured in VA Golf Clinic blog. Michonne Harrison, an enthusiastic participant in nearly everything related to BVA or adaptive sports, was featured in a blog as she enjoyed a variety of recreational events at the National Disabled Veterans Golf Clinic in Iowa City, Iowa. A resident of Fredericksburg, Virginia, and a member of the Mid-Atlantic Regional Group, Michonne attended the clinic, known previously as the T Tournament, for the 3rd time. The blog focused on Michonne's ability to draw parallels between life and golf and then apply those parallels. If the ball goes off a different way or my life takes a different turn, I have to figure out how to get back in it and keep swinging, she was quoted in the blog. In a round of golf, she said you need to look at where you're going rather than where you've been and not let the past define you. Michonne is also an avid kayaker and current member of the Fredericksburg chapter of Team River Runner. At the Disabled Veterans Winter Sports Clinic, where she has attended 4 times, she participates in skiing, scuba, snowmobiling, curling, bowling, fishing, archery, and goalball. In addition to the focus on golf, at the golf clinic, she enjoys the kayaking, horseback riding, fishing, and bowling activities at the annual event. Columbus Chapter walks for PTSD awareness. A photo of 8 blinded veterans accompanies this story. The setting is outdoors on a sunny day, with a wooded area directly behind them. The group is seated for the picture. 2 ladies hold up a banner that indicates that it belongs to the Georgia Regional Group. The banner also contains the BVA logo, seal, and website URL. Behind the ladies is a group of 6, 5 men and 1 woman. 2 members of the group of 6 are wearing a mask. The faces are predominantly serious. The caption states, back row left to right, Columbus Chapter members Joe McNeil, Clifford Jones, Jonathan Barron, Jerry Bentley, Elizabeth Holmes, and Bobby Hodge. Front row, left to right, holding BVA banner, Sarah and Pat Liddell of the local American Legion Post. The brief report begins. The Georgia Regional Group's Columbus chapter continues to remain active participants in VA and community service events throughout the year. During June's VA Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder Awareness Month, the group participated in a walk stemming from a newly released VA initiative to bring greater awareness to PTSD among veterans. Any individual or team could submit an event using video or photos, the only stipulation being that the activity lasts 30 minutes or more, said Elizabeth Holmes. The Columbus chapter opted for a walk on the 2.2-mile Lake Bottom Park track in the heart of Columbus, and we did not allow the hot weather to dampen our spirits as we accomplished our goal. Ambassadors forge ahead. The second class of BVA ambassador trainees have now completed more than half of the scheduled Zoom educational sessions and are gearing up to take a final exam and finish other graduation requirements. The final training session will be January 17. Remaining topics include VHA prosthetics, VA grants, survivor benefits, claims appeals, continuum of care, ethics and responsibilities, and effective advocacy. The first course was completed last spring. Graduates who were able to attend the national convention were recognized in several meetings and events. BVA ambassadors are the key liaison between blind and visually impaired veterans and BVA's Veterans Service Program. They serve in key roles in the dissemination of valuable benefits information and crucial advocacy tips to help make the most of VA benefits for blinded veterans, including access to visual impairment services teams, blind rehabilitation outpatient specialists, vision impairment services in outpatient rehabilitation programs, vision impairment centers to optimize remaining sight programs, and residential rehabilitation centers, BRCs. BVA ambassadors are also volunteers, serving about 15 hours per week at VA BRC or a blind rehabilitation outpatient program. They accumulate creditable volunteer hours for BVA under the VA Center for Development and Civic Engagement, previously the VA Volunteer Service Program. Although BVA ambassadors are not required to be blinded veterans, the latter have certain advantages as they function in their role. The ideal BVA ambassador candidates are blinded veterans who have successfully completed BRC training and can participate in person either at a BRC, preferred, or at a VA blind outpatient program at their local VA medical center. The candidate must be able to set the example for other blinded veterans by functioning independently, demonstrating and applying the skills they acquired through their training. Look for forthcoming details about the third round of ambassador training. Waymo Accessibility Network includes BVA as inaugural member. BVA has joined 12 other national nonprofit advocates for people with disabilities as a founding inaugural member of the Waymo Accessibility Network. Waymo LLC, an American autonomous technology company formerly known as the Google Self-Driving Project, was a key sponsor of the BVA 77th National Convention, Father Carol Luncheon, August 25. The official announcement is accessible at https://blog.waymo.com/2022/10/launching-accessibility-network.htm. A Forbes magazine exclusive published October 6 also publicized the launch. Golf outing gives generously to BVA. BVA was again the fortunate beneficiary of proceeds from the Mark Klein Memorial Golf Outing this past July 30 in Norton, Ohio. The event, now 5 years strong and still growing, celebrates the life of a contact lens and spectacle frames sales representative who admired veterans so much that he annually participated in the Rolling Thunder motorcycle ride in memory of all MIAs and POWs. Klein's family and friends, most notably Mark Holliday, Kim Snodgrass, and Rod Snow, organized the annual event in 2018 after his untimely death from a heart attack. The outing resulted in a $10,000 donation this year and generous proceeds the previous years as well. Mark enjoyed golf and the friendships that it creates, so it was logical to have a golf outing in his name, Snow told the Norton Post newspaper in 2018. Kim Snodgrass and Mark Holliday spoke with Mark's widow, Terry, and together they agreed that blending golf, optical/vision, and Mark's respect for veterans made BVA the logical beneficiary for the gift. BVA expresses a heartfelt thanks for the kindness and support demonstrated by all who are affiliated with the Mark Klein Memorial Golf Outing. We have a good time doing this, and being able to honor our friend and assist an incredible organization is almost icing on the cake, said Mark Holliday following this year's outing. Mid-Atlantic RG supports Memorial Brick Program. 2 photos are connected to this short summary. The first of the 2 reveals a lady dressed in dark clothing, including a BVA polo shirt, posing with a broad smile. She is kneeling on her right knee in a grassy area next to a brick sidewalk. Based on the looks of the mortar around a particular brick, it appears that she had just seconds or minutes before set that brick in place. The engraving on the brick contains the name Arnold J. Dottie on one line, USA on the next line, and on the third line, the beginning and ending dates of Arnold Dottie's service. The caption states, Michonne Harrison puts finishing touches on brick honoring Arnold J. Dottie. The second image is a group photo of 3 ladies, all with faint smiles. The photo includes Michonne once again, and 2 others with blonde hair and dressed in casual attire. The 2 appear to have been assisting Michonne with the bricklaying or participating in some other fashion. Michonne is seen standing between the 2 with separate arms around each. The caption says, Left to right, Kathy Dottie Rowling, Michonne Harrison, Cindy Dottie. Kathy and Cindy are daughters of the veteran for whom the brick was placed. Further details are provided in the following account. In late May, the BVA Mid-Atlantic Regional Group purchased bricks in honor of 2 deceased blinded veterans from Fredericksburg, Virginia, the late Arnold Dottie and Harold Miller, as a member of the Fredericksburg Area Veterans Council, FAVC, a group composed of local veteran service organizations. Arnold was a member of the regional group, and Harold was a blinded veteran co-worker of Arnold's. More than 25 years ago, a local veteran began doing research on the names listed on the only memorial to veterans in Fredericksburg. The memorial was dedicated to a handful of World War I veterans. After his research, he realized there were many more not listed from World War I who had died in combat, which was a requirement for a name to be listed. In 1999, FAVC approached the city of Fredericksburg with a plan to build a new Fallen Heroes Memorial to include veterans from all eras of service. Once approved, they reached out to corporate and private sponsors to garner support for a new Fallen Heroes Memorial Brick Program, a way to honor deceased veterans who passed away after returning home from the battlefields. The memorial was dedicated on Veterans Day 2008 and currently has almost 400 names of those who died in all periods of war. Bricks line the pathway in front of the memorial and the walkway in front of the flagpole, which is the site of the original World War I memorial. Is your heart a precious friend, a casual friend, or your enemy? By Pascal Boutet. If you have a healthy heart, you have a healthy life. When you have a healthy life, you have hope, and that is everything. An Arabian proverb. Heart disease is a sedentary, foodborne illness. Cardiologist. Bad news first. Fact. The leading cause of death today in the USA is heart disease or heart failure, occurring at 64.5 years on average. Moreover, in 1 out of 5 cases, no warning happens. Heart failure can be a silent killer. Your heart cannot be up to the lifelong task of continuing healthy functioning unless you have decided it is your precious friend to respect and honor daily. Good news. In the Bible, the heart is cited 826 times, according to the Strong Concordance. This term stands for the inner part of a person. Heart refers to the entire self, the driving force behind our personality. In other words, our inner self is what is being described when we say she has a good heart, or he has a great heart. However, we begin with biological considerations to understand the urgency of heart care in today's internet world. The best news is that your heart health is between your ears, including your attitude and appreciation for all that it does. Let's proceed with some concrete facts. First, consider the incredible, exquisite machine your heart is. Not much bigger than your closed fist, weighing only 9 to 12 ounces, and tucked in the safest position in your body, immediately under your sternum, in the middle of your chest. Your heart beats approximately 78 times per minute, unceasingly, incessantly, with hardly ever a pause in its 4-chamber, ceaseless rhythm. Your heart serves some 600 muscles, 300 joints, 26 feet of your intestine, 76 organs, and 1 million microscopic sphincter muscles. It powers 11 complex organ systems, such as your liver, which is the in-house automatic pharmacy, delivering chemicals, removing toxins, and storing energy. It fuels some 50 billion neurons in your brain and a total of some 76 trillion cells overall. By the way, your brain is the most bloodthirsty of all the organs, requiring 20% of your blood, although it weighs only a couple of pounds. Your lungs use 400 million tiny cells to get rid of the waste product, carbon dioxide, and refuel your entire body with oxygen. The heart pumps 100,000 times each day to deliver 2,000 gallons of blood. With so many needs for fuel over an average lifetime, your heart will deliver 1 million barrels of blood, which is equivalent to 4 supertankers. That is how much work your precious heart does if you treat it right. The best medicine for your heart is at the end of your fork, said one cardiologist, frustrated with the dietary choices of so many of his patients. A good case can be made that poor eating choices are the primary cause of cardiac disease. It may be harder to give up that extra cookie than to go outside and take your daily regular walk. Certainly, both eating choices and exercise are major contributors to our astonishing death rate from heart failure. If you have any doubt, you can look around and see for yourself the high rate of obesity among men, women, and children of all ages. Even if you are careful with appropriate diet, lifestyle, and stress management, you may not live long or healthy without regular exercise. If you exercise occasionally, that much is still better than none, but a vital secret to heart health is regular cardio exercise. As we age, our heart does not slow down, but it slowly shrinks in size, losing precious cells. We cannot make it work more by sitting on the couch or in front of the computer. Moreover, we know that frequent exercise is also a remedy and a cure for diabetes. Exercise also helps control weight, energizes the immune system, and stimulates brain cells with mood-lifting hormones. Such natural endorphin highs could be a splendid contribution to mental health. During the past 10 years, I have lost 10 friends, all about my age. None of them had any regular exercise routine, not even walking. My heart, less than 1% of my body weight, does all the work to keep me going and well. I hope to do better. So your heart needs regular exercise, without question, to feel young, vital, and strong. My context, now going on 94 years of age, I was lucky at age 15 to fall in love with cross-country running, which was my needed escape from too much awareness of the conflict between my parents, my bedroom being next to theirs. That running, with my expansive imagination, also fueled my lifelong passion to stretch the envelope, to choose the difficult over the easy, and to challenge myself. So I have run or swam all my life. I see myself as a miracle of serendipity, with setbacks becoming new doorways. Recommended amounts, in general, are at least 150 minutes a week of moderate exercise, or 120 minutes of cardiovascular exercise. I am currently swimming 3 times each week for a total of about 2 hours. This includes some sprinting during my swimming in order to send fresh neurons into my brain and immune system. On off days from swimming, I have devised an easy chair regime of 12 exercises for legs and arms. I must admit that one of the reasons why my wife at 89 and I, pushing 94, are so active mentally and physically is that we have been on ski lifts together well more than 1,000 times. My longevity, I confess, is being blessed with marrying an adventurous, outdoor-oriented farm girl accustomed to working from dawn to dusk. As you consider whether to make that incredible little heart of yours your precious friend, do not presume to add any big new change without conferring with your family or primary care physician. By the way, VA provides regular recreational sports programs for veterans with sight loss. It is never too late to start. My son-in-law at age 54 just received a double lung transplant after 3 months in the hospital. He had to start from scratch, one breath and one small step at a time. Now, weeks later, he is strong enough to drive himself to physical therapy. It's never too late when you start small. You have only one heart. It determines how long and how healthy you will live. Make sure it knows how much you love and care for it. Prevention is better and easier to accomplish than a cure. Your heart will love you and keep performing when you ask it to do a little more each day to stay stronger by regular exercise. Last word. Your heart is your most precious friend. Let your friend know that fact by some appropriate loving. If you treasure your heart, you will always have reason for hope. Blinded veteran Pascal Bautet writes about resilience, wellness, gratitude, and grace in both print and ebook. He was honored to be inducted into the Kentucky Veterans Hall of Fame Honor Roll Class of 2018 for outstanding military and community service. The commendation reads in part, Mr. Pascal Bautet's service to his communities is voluminous, a testament to his love of God and an insatiable passion to help others even after being diagnosed by VA as catastrophically disabled, legally blind. Team BVA Buzz by Joe Bogart. A shoulder-length photo of Joe Bogart accompanies Team BVA Buzz. With only 2 exceptions, Joe's shirt and the background employed in the photo are the same as those used for all other regular Bulletin columns. There is no photo caption. Taking on the Potomac. Greetings, teammates. This quarter's report covers Team BVA's first scheduled event of the fiscal year and upcoming events that all members are eligible to attend. Our first event of the 2022-23 fiscal year was a flat water kayaking event hosted by our friends at Team River Runner, TRR. We had a powerful paddling day at Riley's Lock, a pleasant traverse on a gently flowing wide section of the Potomac River in Maryland following our amazing BVA 77th National Convention in Washington, D.C. As our 28 BVA members and family members unloaded the bus, TRR founder Joe Mornini and his team issued the required safety briefings and personal flotation vests. He also fitted all paddlers for kayaks and assigned guides to each. Because we had several first-time kayakers attending, the adjustments and land instruction took some time. Not everyone had the Colorado River on their kayaking resume, like Brian Harris and Lonnie Bedwell. Soon enough, however, it was time to launch the boats from the dock with a specialized roller system that allowed new and experienced paddlers alike to ease into the water. As the kayakers found their balance, instructors and guides quickly took on the charge, and the fun began. BVA member-at-large and National Judge Advocate Stephen Butler remarked that it was his, quote, first time ever squeezing into a small one-person kayak, unquote. After completing his first experience paddling, Stephen was inspired. Participating in adaptive activities like kayaking reminds me that I can live a normal life, he said. It helps me feel a part of the community and not just a burden on the community. Tracy Farrow was accompanied by his wife, Kathy, for their first time ever kayaking. Almost in unison, the Farrows exclaimed that, quote, it was really fun to try something new that we have never tried before, and we cannot wait to do it again. For Eddie Miranda of the Charles Register Regional Group, the TRR event was his second time ever in a kayak. When asked what doing adaptive sports activities like kayaking means to him, Eddie quickly answered, it means raising the bar, going through the wall, or over the wall. It means that having blindness does not define me. Adaptive activities allow me to do the activities I did before. I was big into competitive sports, and I felt I had lost that. For intermediate kayaker Michonne Harrison of the Mid-Atlantic Regional Group, adaptive activities like kayaking, quote, gives mental stimulation and makes me feel like I am living again. It helps remind me that even though we have visual impairments, we don't have to stop and limit our activities. We can live a normal, productive, and quality life as we do the things we used to do, unquote. After a couple hours of instruction and paddling that included both some tip-overs and some wading in the shallow, cool waters of Riley's Loch, it was chow time. As our excited and damp kayakers chatted about their experiences, they enjoyed a delicious meal from Mission BBQ Restaurant, complete with all the trimmings. The meal came to us courtesy of our friends at the American Academy of Ophthalmology. BVA members do not have to wait until our next convention to do something fun and adaptive like kayaking with Team River Runner. TRR has chapters across the United States, and they host events for disabled veterans of all kayaking ability levels. Just go to https://teamriverrunner.org to find a chapter near you. If you are nervous about getting back into sports and recreational activities after sight loss, Eddie Miranda has some advice. Quote, "Take a baby step at first. Try something that requires very little faith and trust in other people. For me, it was easy. I could have gone rafting down a lazy river. Once I got a small taste, the spirit in me made me want to take a bigger bite." Tracy Farrow's advice was blunt as usual. Quote, "Just do it. People are amazed that we can use the iPhone. I know blind people that drive race cars. The possibilities are endless if we just have the drive and desire. And blindness sucks, but eyesight is just a convenience. You don't lose your vision just because you go blind." Unquote. Stephen Butler points to an imaginary scene. "You see that little kid chasing that ball over there? What makes him better than us? We can do anything we put our minds to." Michonne Harrison summed it all up nicely. Quote, "As blinded veterans, we have to go out and lead by example." Unquote. So let's all get out and lead other blinded veterans by example. Let's continue to go through that wall or over it and not let blindness define us. Upcoming Team BVA events. Do you want to get active? Here are some upcoming adaptive events that Team BVA has scheduled. An enduring requirement for all events is that the attendee be able to travel independently using suitable assistance methods for the selected mode of travel. The following trips are co-sponsored with Steamboat Adaptive Recreational Sports, STARS, and attendees are selected and referred by Team BVA. Registration is open, with priority going to those who have never attended a STARS ski and ride event. Send an email to Joe Bogart at teambva@bva.org and copy Lonnie Bedwell at lonnie.r.bedwell@att.net. Once selected, prospective attendees will be given a link to complete their registration. Blind and low vision veterans ski and ride. Number 1. Dates: January 22 through January 26, 2023, normally best for first-timers. Number 2. Dates: February 5 through February 9, 2023. Number 3. Dates: March 5 through March 9, 2023. Cost: a $100 deposit is required from all veterans, which will be returned upon completion of the camp and a survey. Lodging: participants will be staying at the Stars Ranch for the duration of their trip. Space for family members is limited. Cost is $3.99 per family member. This covers accommodations, breakfast and dinner daily, and daily transportation to and from the resort. Please include in your email that you wish to bring a family member. Meals: breakfast, snacks, and dinner are included. Registration. To register for any STARS event, send an email to teambva@bva.org and include your name, address, phone number, and skiing experience. Indicate if you have ever attended a STARS ski event. Not included: airfare, transportation, or travel expenses to and from Steamboat Springs, Colorado, are not currently included for prior attendees. First-time attendees may have travel reimbursed by BVA only after attending the event. Additional opportunities will soon be posted on the BVA website under Programs, Team BVA, Events. Veterans Service Program Update by James R. Vale. The accompanying Jim Vale photo is the same head and shoulders image found with this issue's legislative update, which Jim also authored. There is, again, no photo caption. The text of Jim's VSP update begins. In 2010, the Caregivers and Veterans Omnibus Health Services Act established a program of comprehensive assistance for family caregivers, PCAFC, of eligible veterans who, quote, have a serious injury incurred or aggravated in the line of duty in the active military, naval, or air service on or after September 11, 2001, unquote. PCAFC provides benefits such as training, respite care, counseling, technical support, beneficiary travel, access to health care, if qualified, through the Civilian Health and Medical Program of the Department of Veterans Affairs, CHAMP VA, and a monthly stipend. The PCAFC legislation was a great start, but it did not include veterans who served prior to September 11, 2001. In 2018, the VA Mission Act expanded PCAFC eligibility to family caregivers of eligible veterans who incurred or aggravated a serious injury in the line of duty prior to September 11, 2001, but not all at once. The expansion began a phased approach that started with veterans who served prior to May 7, 1975, establishing new benefits for designated primary family caregivers of eligible veterans. It made further changes affecting program eligibility and VA's evaluation of PCAFC applications. These changes took effect October 1, 2020. Last year, on September 22, 2021, through regulatory changes, VA extended PCAFC eligibility by 1 year for certain veterans and their family caregivers. This included categories for legacy participants, legacy applicants, and their family caregivers. A monthly stipend is part of this extension. For eligibility purposes, a legacy participant is defined as a veteran or service member who was participating in PCAFC as of September 30, 2020, and a legacy applicant is a veteran or service member who applied for PCAFC before October 1, 2020, and who was accepted into the program on or after October 1, 2020. The final group in this phase-in period are veterans who served after May 7, 1975, but before September 11, 2021. This last group's service period becomes qualifying service starting October 1, 2022. This year, on September 14, 2022, VA again submitted to the Federal Register an interim final rule extending PCAFC eligibility for certain veterans and their family caregivers through September 30, 2025. What this means is that legacy participants, legacy applicants, and their family caregivers will have their eligibility extended by 3 years to September 30, 2025. If your PCAFC claim is denied, you can file up to 2 clinical appeals through the Patient Advocate's Office at your VA Medical Center. Under the Appeals Modernization Act, you can now file a higher-level review, HLR, with no new evidence, or a supplemental claim with new and relevant evidence. You can file a clinical appeal, HLR, or supplemental claim in any order, but the final option for an appeal is with the Board of Veterans' Appeals, which makes the final agency decision for VA. The rules for PCAFC eligibility can be confusing, especially with these specific expansion changes. If you have questions or for more information, email the BVA Veterans Service Program at vsp@bva.org or call the VA Caregiver Support Line at 855-260-3274. A Development Model for BVA's Future by Meredith Buono de Grossa. Meredith's now regular column comes with a thumbnail head and shoulders photo at the top of the article. The image depicts Meredith with light-colored hair, large earrings, and a broad smile. She is wearing the same BVA button-down shirt and against the same background as is seen in other staff photos that accompany Bulletin columns. Meredith begins. Now that the challenges of the BVA 77th National Convention have passed and the autumn season is upon us, I have a little time and some Bulletin space to reflect upon all that I have absorbed in my first year as the Director of Development with BVA. I have also conducted a mental review of my much-anticipated first convention. It has been an action-packed and exciting ride thus far. After passing through the first phase of this journey, I now have a better understanding of our organization. I am very excited to bring forth new ideas to not only improve future conventions, but also create a sustaining development model for BVA's future. For you who were able to make it to Washington, D.C., the convention was hopefully a happy reunion after a 2-year hiatus. For me, it was an introduction to members, exhibitors, and sponsors, VA staff, and our board of directors. Essentially, the term development in the context of nonprofit organizations is about revenue, but, more importantly, it is also about relationships. The convention allowed me to actively engage with the following segments of people and learn about their motivations in partnering with BVA. Engaging with you, our members, greatly increased my understanding of your remarkable journeys and the stories behind them. Many of these stories are nothing short of heroic. When appropriate, these sources of inspiration can and should be shared with those who may otherwise never hear them, but who are motivated to support you, who have given so much to preserve the freedom and way of life we continue to enjoy as Americans. We understand that not all stories are comfortably shared and worthy of public consumption, but please consider many of your experiences to be the genuine treasures that they most certainly are. Engaging with our convention sponsors, most of whom were also exhibitors, has also allowed me to understand their business goals and how we can best partner with them by aligning their goals with ours. The goal is to build year-round partnerships so that they become more than a distant relationship that visits us at an event once a year. Our hope is that these sources of support become part of the BVA family. Engaging at the convention with our full staff and learning more about their responsibilities and activities, coupled with my involvement in putting the schedule together, gave me greater insight into new sources of possible engagement and revenue expansion in the immediate future. I am referring specifically to the new Ambassador and Vet Tech training programs, Team BVA, the Care Review Initiative, and scholarships. A primary goal of the 77th Convention was to have a little fun and enjoyment, but it also helped us establish valuable relationships and a foundation on which we can begin building a successful development model. Witnessing how it all unfolds moving forward will be tremendously exciting. Chaplain's Corner by Dr. Ron Lester. The consistently used thumbnail head and shoulders smiling photo of Dr. Lester is located at the beginning of his Chaplain's Corner. The lapel of a plaid sport coat, shown as gray, is visible over a darker colored dress shirt. There is no caption with the photo. Chaplain Lester's column reads as follows. This past summer somewhat reminded me of the summer of 1964 in Oklahoma. I was working for an air conditioning company that was installing add-ons for their heating units. My job was to wrap a vapor seal around the ducts in the attics. For me, in Arizona this summer, it was just like it was in Oklahoma that year. Temperatures topped 100 degrees every day. In Oklahoma that summer, we had 21 days of 105 degrees. I remember asking God at the time if the conditions in those attics were what hell was like. It was a logical question because the attic fans would finally come on when the temperature reached 140. I was so miserable. I wondered if what I was doing then was to be my job for the rest of my life. My body was dehydrated every day, and I soon knew it was time to change my direction. It seemed that God was directing me to go by the draft board to see just where I stood. One day, something told me I should talk to the Air Force recruiter, but most of my concern was my number on the draft board. I already knew that I did not want to go into the Army, Navy, or the Marines. I know that each of you has your favorite branch of service, and that I'm inevitably inviting controversy. I did speak with that aforementioned recruiter, and chose the Air Force, with God directing my steps to my first assignment at Holloman Air Force Base, New Mexico. I had gone to church all my life, and I knew the verses in Psalm 37:4-5 and Proverbs 3:4-5. I knew even at that time that God would direct our steps and that He would direct mine. It is sometimes useful to look back, asking ourselves how our experiences have shaped us into the people we are today. Romans 5:3-4 says, quote, "Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance, character, and character, hope." Unquote. As I have grown older and hopefully wiser, I now think more often about the direction God leads each of us. I see that God intervenes on our behalf through divine protection and divine appointments. He also gives us divine connections, sometimes through someone who offers us an encouraging word or puts in a good word for us. He can direct every step of our lives, even when we don't realize it. As you feel the physical heat of a summer sun, probably not again until 2023, or as you feel the heat inherent in life's challenges and obligations, please think to give thanks to God for that air-conditioned office or home that is nice and cool. In addition, think back on the times God has directed your every step. Just as we've been blessed and directed, let us bless and direct someone else today as instruments in God's hands. Of note, Scammers use PACT Act to target innocent veterans. According to the Veterans Benefits Administration, the Honoring Our Promise to Address Comprehensive Toxics Act of 2022, PACT Act, will be the largest expansion of veterans' benefits in history. Predatory individuals and companies, real or fictitious, are taking advantage of new opportunities to commit fraud with an increase in PACT Act-related phishing, email, vishing, phone, and social media scams targeting veterans to access their PACT Act benefits or submit claims on their behalf. Multiple veterans are known to have been contacted by such parties during the past 60 days through cold calls, emails, or text messages. VA was recently notified about law firms targeting veterans who were stationed at Camp Lejeune. The firms are pressuring veterans to sign contracts allowing the attorneys to represent them in federal lawsuits. Contact information for the veterans is likely obtained through the Camp Lejeune Registry or other public registries. Aggressive tactics used include emails outlining a sense of urgency and the need to act immediately, advertising for lawsuit support with no initial fees unless the suit is won, amplification of false information about the Camp Lejeune crisis on social media and television, asking veterans to sign contracts requiring access to medical records and demanding a large percentage of the total amount recovered for veterans. VBA has launched a communications campaign to spread awareness of PACT Act best practices, fraud tactics, and prevention strategies. The specifics and most recent information are available at VBA's social media profiles, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. They include the following tips. Do not provide personal, benefits, medical, or financial details online or over the phone. Federal agencies will not contact you unless you make a request. Do not click online ads or engage with social media that appears suspicious. Check for https:// at the start of all website addresses. Enable multi-factor authentication on all accounts. Work with veteran service providers you already know, such as the BVA Veteran Service Program. Report any suspected fraud to reportfraud.ftc.gov, VA OIG hotline at va.gov, or call 800-488-8244. Process simplified for medical debt relief. In early March 2022, the White House announced an effort toward reducing financial hardship for veterans by simplifying the process by which they can apply for medical debt relief. 3 months later, the Veterans Health Administration launched a simplified application process allowing easier access to the debt relief veterans may need. The process was supplemented by an online application option last month at https://www.va.gov/manage-va-debt. Veterans may still apply for medical debt relief in their local facility's revenue office or by calling the Health Resource Center at 866-400-1238, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. A VA Form 5655 must still be used to apply for medical debt relief no matter which application method is used. The form is available online and at VA facility revenue offices. Patient statements are mailed monthly but can also be accessed online via https://www.va.gov/manage-va-debt. AI lends new insight into traumatic brain injury. Newfound artificial intelligence, AI, models are now providing federal agencies with the means to apply a range of data inputs to better understand the origins of traumatic brain injuries, TBIs, and how to help patients recover from their long-term impacts. Speaking at the 2022 Brain Summit, VA representatives outlined how cutting-edge technologies such as AI and machine learning are providing newfound insight into neurological injury. TBI is a hallmark battlefield injury of America's post-9/11 conflicts, since enemy combatants have made extensive use of improvised explosives that inflict a high rate of cranial damage. In the early 2000s, TBI was also linked to effects on the optic nerve. Finding ways to better understand and treat TBI has become a priority for VA researchers and the Department of Defense, DoD, especially since the condition manifests an array of symptoms that can vary considerably and often overlap with other conditions such as psychological trauma and vision loss. The efforts are still in their infancy and currently undergoing significant expansion in both outside collaboration and sophistication. One of the more promising studies, the LIMBIC phenotype study, links DoD combat theater and health systems data with VA health system data to identify risk factors and create more personalized forms of treatment for veterans living with TBI. The goal of this study is to provide a foundation for AI, said VA research scientist Mary Jo Pugh. It's a longitudinal study that links DoD and VA data for more than 2.5 million post-9/11 veterans. Data sources of healthcare and patient history will be merged into machine learning models that will hopefully shed greater light into the nature of TBI and its relationship to both physical and mental health conditions. New VA grant funding to help homeless veterans. VA has awarded $137 million in grants through its Supportive Service for Veterans Families (SSVF) program to help veterans and their families who are homeless or at risk of becoming homeless. The new grant awards, announced on September 13, supplement the previous fiscal year 2022 SFVF grants, increase the number of veterans who are eligible for SFVF assistance, and allow 150 nonprofit organization grantees to expand on existing services for veterans and their families. VA has placed more than 22,000 homeless veterans into permanent housing in 2022. The goal for the year is 38,000 permanent housing placements. It's our goal to remove the barriers that stand between homeless veterans and the home they need and deserve, including rental costs, cumbersome rental processes, and more, said VA Secretary Dennis McDonough. These grant funds will empower our Trust VA partners to help homeless and at-risk veterans through the entire housing process, from identifying a home to affording it to making it their own. During FY 2021, SFVF served 114,175 participants, including 80,049 veterans and 19,266 children. Father Carroll biography now in talking book format. Caution: Blind Priest Driving. The story of Father Thomas Carroll, Changing the Public's Perception of Blindness, by Rachel Ethier Rosenbaum, has recently become available to BVA members and their families via Braille and Audio Reading Download, BARD, a service of the National Library Service, NLS, for the blind and print disabled. Father Carroll served as BVA's first national chaplain from 1946 until his untimely death in 1971. He was a pioneer in the field of blind rehabilitation and instrumental in the inauguration of the Heinz Blind Center in 1948. He is one of only 32 members of the American Printing House for the Blind Hall of Fame. Notwithstanding the humorous title of the book, Father Carroll was not blind himself. In BVA circles, he was known for stirring speeches and frequent counseling sessions, utilizing both his professional training and innate sensitivity in assisting blinded veterans to understand their potential for productive and meaningful lives. Chapter 6 of the book, entitled The Birth of the Blinded Veterans Association and Heinz Hospital, further reveals the important role BVA played in Father Carroll's life. Despite knowing Father Carroll personally and with special access to his writings through her 33 years as executive director of the Carroll Center for the Blind, Rosenbaum researched his life for more than 8 years. In 2014, she attended the BVA 69th National Convention in Reno, Nevada, to interview BVA members who had met Father Carroll personally. NLS and its resources fall under the jurisdiction of the Library of Congress. It is a free Braille and talking book library service for people with temporary or permanent low vision, blindness, or a physical, perceptual, or reading disability that prevents them from using regular print materials. Through a national network of cooperating libraries, NLS circulates books and magazines in Braille or audio formats that are instantly downloadable to a personal device or delivered by mail free of charge. charge. To access the book or for more information on how to qualify for BARD services, visit https://nlsbard/login/NLS. Military Hymn Download available for Veterans Day. Planners for the services, ceremonies, and observances of Veterans Day this year have a new resource to consider, a military hymn entitled Ever Faithful to the Call. The hymn can be reviewed and downloaded free for nonprofit or personal use at www.everfaithfultothecall.com. Composer Tom Lau turned to chaplains, veterans, family members, widows, and church music professionals for their ideas and suggestions in the hymn's development. Field testing of the hymn in late 2021 provided additional feedback for the final revisions. Lau invites military units, religious denominations, and civic organizations to consider incorporating it into their Veterans Day observances. The 4 verses of the hymn were sung recently as part of an organ recital at the West Point Cadet Chapel at the United States Military Academy. I feel that this hymn has the potential for widespread use in military and civilian settings for Veterans Day and other occasions as well, said Craig Williams, West Point Chapel organist. Convention Reflections by Warner L. Murray. A half-length photo of Warner Murray accompanies his thoughts about the recently completed National Convention. The picture was taken after the final awards banquet event using the organization's Step and Repeat backdrop, which contains the BVA logo, seal, and website URL. Aside from his red bow tie and a red handkerchief in his front pocket, which are seen only as dark shades in the black and white photo, Warner is wearing only white. Dress shirt, slacks, and jacket are all white. There is no photo caption. Warner's Convention Reflections begin thus. The Blinded Veterans Association's 77th National Convention was truly an historic event. It all commenced at the Hyatt Regency Washington on Capitol Hill in our nation's capital. The destination was a wonderful one befitting this long-standing organization. I was greeted warmly upon arrival. The assistance I received from all the hotel staff I encountered was polite, kind, and courteous. They were cognizant and knowledgeable about the BVA members' visual challenges. The BVA registration area was on the lobby level and accessible. I arrived on August 21, which was Sunday afternoon. I was greeted at the registration desk by the executives, coordinators, directors, and other staff. My heart felt joy to hear old and new voices welcoming my attendance. I received my convention program package, membership credentials, and some shared vital verbal information. The Hyatt Regency's lobby and atrium high above were very spacious. The high ceiling was accompanied by a slightly tinted glass that allowed the bright sunlight to enter. Adjacent to the lobby was an open bar and dining area with no doors to maneuver. It was very accessible to the visually challenged. It was the first convention for many of our members, but it felt almost brand new to me also after 2 years on the virtual platform. This BVA convention was well organized. The effective planning of tours, events, and learning sessions made them exciting. The trip to Arlington National Cemetery on the first day was a noble deed as we recognized and paid our respects to fallen comrades. Our elected national officers performed their ceremonious duty of laying a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier. I felt a sense of joy when a retired school teacher read my poem for my fallen comrades. It was an opportunity for me to personally pay my respects through my written words. We veterans must keep alive the bravery and other qualities of those who have passed on. The Tuesday Lunch and Learn for the members, sponsored by DOT, was enlightening, informative, and engaging. The lunch had a unique taste to the palate, and I was grateful personally for the special entree for diabetics and vegetarians. The official opening day of business on Wednesday was, as it is usually, laughter and chatting among members just before the gavel struck. One of the main issues on the agenda to be voted on by the membership was the revision of the national bylaws. The dine-around, the bowling, and the visit to the National Mall were truly appreciated by the membership. I enjoyed the fun, planned activities immensely. The hospitality suite was a reminder of other late-night camaraderie-promoting events I've enjoyed during my life. The room attracted both old and new members. The presentation of the drinks and finger foods was professional thanks to the care demonstrated by our Mid-Atlantic Regional Group sponsors. The grand finale was the awards banquet. Cocktails were served prior to the festivities. The banquet hall decor was classy. The formal table arrangements with their pristine, clear glasses of water and shining silverware were classy. A filet mignon main entree highlighted this beautiful dinner. The awards and gifts lifted the spirits of the membership. They were presented so that no one was left out of the anticipation of who would next be recognized. The final episode of the banquet was a photography session orchestrated by the Director of Public Relations for national officers to be photographed. The background for the pictures was an object better known as a step and repeat filled with images of the BVA logo and emblem. A few of us slipped in among the national officers as discreetly as we could to get our pictures taken too. As the banquet hall suddenly went from chaos to quiet, Mr. Adam Johnson, a representative of a company named Clusive, interviewed me for a few minutes on camera. I was asked how BVA has helped me with mobility, technology, and personal support challenges. The second question related to the book I wrote for my comrades. He asked what inspired me to write a book entitled We Served America and what challenges I encountered to get the manuscript published. The New York Regional Group gives thanks to all responsible within the BVA family for putting together the past 3 conventions, 2 virtual and 1 live. I'm sure each one had its challenges, but the live convention required so much more planning and care. Accordingly, we were all rewarded that much more in 2022. The national conventions are in good hands. The 78th cannot come any too soon. BVA 77th Convention. This historic event, what a treat. Old, new members ready to greet. Long time coming for face-to-face. Hyatt Regency, a wonderful place. Executives, coordinators, directors, staff organized and created this perfect draft. Meetings, conferences, fun activities too. Bowling, kayaking, tours, more to do. There are many choices for Night on the Town. Choose your eatery for the dine-around. Arlington Cemetery, our mission of pride. Lay a wreath at tomb for soldiers who died. The membership appreciates the atmosphere. Let's carry the momentum to the 78th year. I say to my comrades, make this pact true. Help your regional group be counted in St. Louis. Veterans Burial Benefits by Kenneth Asom, Southern California Regional Group. There is an overwhelming amount of information available on veterans' burial benefits. Although this subject is not one which most of us would wish to read about and research regularly, I think there is general agreement that it is an important one. The first step in taking advantage of this VA benefit is to complete VA Form 40-1007. Application for burial in VA National Cemetery for both the veteran and spouse. This can be processed in advance and, when done so, greatly simplifies the process when either of the two passes away. I also recommend that you have available VA Form 27-2008 Request for Burial Flag. To locate a VA form, go to va.gov/find-forms and enter the form number in the search box or perform a Google search using the following: VA forms and then the number of the form. The list of burial benefits is both extensive and comprehensive. They include 1. Burial in a national cemetery. 2. Burial headstones and memorials. 3. President Memorial Certificate, PMC. 4. Burial flags. 5. Reimbursement of burial expenses. 6. Burial allowance. 7. Death under authorized VA admissions. 8. Veteran cemeteries by other agencies. 9. State and tribal cemeteries. 10. Unclaimed veterans' remains. The following are VA burial resources that help us better understand our benefits. 1. Planning Your Legacy. VA Survivors and Burial Kit, VA Pamphlet 27-18-1 is a very useful publication and may be obtained by going to https://www.benefits.va.gov/benefits/docs/VA Survivors Kit.pdf. 2. VA Federal Benefits for Veterans, Dependents, and Survivors, 2021. www.va.gov/OPA/2021_FEDRAL_DEPENDENTS_SURVIVORS.pdf. 3. Although most of this reading audience is obviously not currently residing in California, nor a part of my own regional group, an online resource entitled California Veterans Resource Book, CalVet, contains information about VA at the national level. Located at https://www.calvet.ca.gov/vetservices/pages/burial-benefits.aspx. This resource has sections on state cemeteries, eligibility determination, VA national cemeteries, burial benefits, the Military Funeral Honors Program, burial and plot interment allowance, and headstones/markers. 4. The online Dignity Memorial provider presents 10 important facts about your VA burial benefits. A link is available to the document at https://www.dignitymemorial.com/plan-funeral-cremation/veterans/VA-death-benefits. Be certain that you have on file a copy of your DD-214, Armed Forces of the United States Report of Transfer or Discharge. This is a required document when applying for all VA benefits. If you do not have a copy of your DD-214, you may apply for a copy at https://va.gov. If you have a problem securing this document, help is available from VA, especially your VIST coordinator or BVA. Letters to the Editor, Extra Mile TLC by Scout Volunteers. 2 photos relating to the following letter have been included. The first photo setting is the National Convention registration area. The image reveals a man and a woman standing side by side and looking forward. Although they are both smiling, the woman's expression is much less pronounced. The left side of the man's head is touching the right side of the woman's head. The man is identified by a convention name badge that says Enrique D. Sanchez. The caption states, "Nothing can keep Enrique Sanchez and Laura Sanchez from enjoying a BVA National Convention, not age, inconvenience, or even an unexpected night at the Washington, D.C. VA Medical Center. The couple has attended consecutive conventions together more than any other, now numbering more than 4 decades. A second photo also features Laura and Enrique, the latter of whom is seated while Laura is standing above him on a tile floor. Enrique has with him a tote bag from a previous convention. Flanking Laura and Enrique on both sides are 4 younger-looking Boy Scouts about 11 years of age in full uniform, including hat and shorts. They are seen standing 2 to the right of Enrique and Laura and 2 to their left. The caption states, Troop 301 of Alexandria, Virginia, chartered by Veterans of Foreign Wars, Post 609, will forever hold a special place in the hearts of Enrique and Laura. The letter begins. Thank you to BVA National Headquarters for hosting an in-person convention after 3 long years. I don't know if I'll be making any more conventions, for the years are catching up on me. I am now 93, and this was my 44th or 45th convention in a row except for the COVID years. I was sponsored in 1976 to come for the first time and haven't missed one since. Thank you also to Kylie Fitzgerald on the BVA Public Relations team for posting our photo on BVA's Facebook page. We had a very good time, despite having to spend a night and close to 24 hours at the DC VA Medical Center. We appreciate the concern everyone had for us. Fortunately, it was not as serious as some thought it might be, and we were back the next day. We had a second adventure at the Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport as we were going home. It was a bad experience at first that quickly turned to good. The volunteers, boys, and adult leaders from Scout Troop 301 were with us when I tried to pay to check my luggage for the flight to New York. There were 3 boys and a girl with their dad, I believe. My credit card was declined for $130 because of a couple of holds that had been placed on it during the week. The ticket agent would not accept cash from my wife, Laura, and said that a valid credit card was required. We had no other credit card with us, and quickly we felt desperate. Immediately upon hearing this near disaster, the dad of the youngsters pulled out his credit card and made the payment for us. He said, "Here, this is no problem, and we can use my card for this." Fortunately, we were able to pay him for the transaction, but it took some coaxing for him to accept our cash. Had we allowed him to do so, he would have been totally willing to pay for it all after already volunteering several hours at the airport for our BVA members. Viva Scouting and Viva our BVA volunteers. Enrique Sanchez, New York Regional Group, 45-year National Convention attendee. Northwestern JROTC cadets lend indispensable service. Still another photo accompanies this letter. Standing together are 5 individuals, left to right 2 young men wearing gold T-shirts with the word Navy embroidered, followed by an older-appearing lady, then a young woman in full Navy uniform, and an adult gentleman with a blue shirt containing the Junior ROTC logo. A foam board behind them contains the BVA logo and a large "Welcome" with the letters moving top to bottom. The BVA volunteer desk is at the far right in the background. The caption reads, "Still on their summer break for 1 additional week, the Navy Junior ROTC program of Northwestern High School, Hyattsville, Maryland, offered valuable assistance during the first 2 days of the convention." Left to right, Brian DeLeon, Rodner Guevara, Margarine Beeman, Kimberly Melgar, and Sergeant Major Ephraim Wilson, USMC, retired. The letter starts with the following. On a steamy Sunday afternoon, a week before school started, 6 Northwestern Navy Junior ROTC cadets met their instructor at Union Station in Washington, D.C. They were there to greet veterans arriving for your annual convention. As veterans from all military branches guided themselves with their canes and sometimes service dogs off their trains and onto the platforms, cadets called out their names to intercept them. Each cadet introduced themselves and offered to escort the veterans to their hotel just a few blocks away. After the long journey, the veterans appreciated the friendly welcome and a chance to stretch their legs. In small groups, the cadets gathered up luggage and led their veterans through the Great Hall of Union Station and onto the D.C. streets towards the Hyatt Regency Hotel. There they made sure they got checked in and settled in their rooms. Over the course of many hours, cadets moved continuously between greeting 16 veterans at Union Station and helping about 30 others they met in the lobby of the hotel. With each new greeting, cadets listened and learned about life as a blinded service member, how they learned to move safely down a sidewalk, up a staircase. They heard stories about their years of service and sacrifice for their country. For some cadets, this was the first time hearing such first-hand accounts, and although the veterans expressed extreme appreciation for the cadets' acts of service that day, it was the cadets who were most impacted by the experience. They insisted that their instructor confirm that everyone had arrived, and they wanted to check the platform again to avoid leaving a veteran behind. They asked if they could come back to assist at the convention that week. Unfortunately, this was not possible. In those few hours, Northwestern High School's NJROTC cadets were needed, appreciated, and motivated through their experience of service to others. In fact, 5 cadets returned after the week-long conference to escort many blinded veterans back to Union Station to board their trains heading home. We look forward to seeing what more great experiences Northwestern NJROTC cadets have this school year. Sergeant Major Ephraim Wilson, Naval Science Instructor, Northwestern High School, Junior ROTC, Hyattsville, Maryland. In Remembrance. The In Remembrance section of the Bulletin rarely includes a photo. The post-convention 2022 issue is an exception, however, due to the convention site visit at Arlington National Cemetery. The photo selected reveals a faintly smiling gentleman standing by himself just outside the chain links that guard the area of the tomb of the unknown soldier where the public cannot go. The man in light-colored slacks is wearing his convention name badge, a dark-colored BVA polo shirt, and a BVA baseball cap. The expansive background reveals trees, flowers, and shrubs, all basking in an afternoon summer sun. A gallery of persons is located to the man's right. One individual in the gallery can be seen in the distant background with a raised cell phone to use as a camera as a single guard moves back and forth on a black walkway. The caption reads, Puerto Rico Regional Group Convention Delegate and Director of District 3, Jose Rivera Barris, stands atop a hill overlooking Washington at Tomb of the Unknown Soldier during visit to Arlington National Cemetery. The tomb itself is partially visible in the distant background. Photo courtesy of Michonne Harrison. The Blinded Veterans Association deeply regrets the passing of the following blinded veterans. From the Carolina Regional Group, Gretchen Wilson. From the Charles Register Regional Group, James Hughes. Connecticut Regional Group, James Denio. Florida Regional Group, Joseph Chelly, John Hammond, George DeQuith, John Lang, William David, John Novak, Gary Nyberg, John Phillips. Gem State Regional Group, Curtis McCormick, George Satter, John Sikma. From the Georgia Regional Group, Douglas Brooks. Greater Houston Regional Group, Lamar Knighton. Heartland Regional Group, Francis England. Illinois Regional Group, Cortez Broadnax. Louisiana Mississippi Group, Morris Brown, John Erickson. Hugh Skinner. Mid-Atlantic Group, Kenneth Croft. From the New Hampshire Regional Group, Lois Weber. New Mexico Regional Group, Ernest Martinez. Daniel Sandoval. Dwight Simpson. Ohio Regional Group, Herbert Carlson. Harry McFall. From the OKI Regional Group, Russell Cook. Pennsylvania Group, David Boyd. Alan Miller. Puerto Rico Group, Francisco Roig. Southern California Regional Group, Charles Gardner. Southern Nevada Regional Group, William Shaw. From the South Texas Group, Jerry Hogan, Diana Horton. And BVA members at large with no regional group affiliation, Gilbert Roca. Final thought. The lengthy post-convention 2022 issue of the Bulletin comes to a close with a final thought. The message is accompanied by a photo of 4 individuals, 3 gentlemen and a lady, standing side by side outside the double-glass doors of BVA's national headquarters in Alexandria, Virginia. The glass door on the left contains the BVA seal or emblem, and the one on the right contains the logo. All of the subjects of the photo are dressed in business casual attire, except the man on the far right. The man at the far left is grasping the top of his white cane with his right hand. The final thought is expressed as follows. In 2021, VA launched a federal supremacy project aimed at establishing national standards of practice for 50 categories of health professionals, including ophthalmologists and other eye care specialists. The purpose of the project is to create continuity and consistency across all VA facilities to care for veterans without undue hindrance from state licensure, registration, certification, and other requirements at the state level. On September 22, Rebecca Hyder, second from right, Director, Federal Affairs, American Academy of Ophthalmology, and Jeff Miller, far right, former chairman of the House Committee on Veterans Affairs, and now with public strategy firm Mercury, visited BVA National Headquarters for a briefing on the status of the project. Central to the discussion with Jim Vail, far left, and Don Overton was BVA's potential support and collaboration of the project and AAO's efforts to ensure that American veterans receive the highest quality of eye care services within VHA. And this concludes the audio version of the Post-Convention 2022 BVA Bulletin.